Yeah, it was kind of a slower week for Nintendo. We don't have a ton of news. We actually have mostly rumors this week, like the Emily Rogers rumor about Zelda, which we'll talk about in that podcast. But we have some NX rumors as always, and a couple like a Mario Maker story and some Mitomo news. But starting off with the rumors, we have heard that Monolith Productions could be making a game for the Nintendo NX, and
Ooh.
Monolith Productions are the team that created Middle Earth Shadow of Mordor, which was really popular, well received, and they've recently advertised for a quality assurance manager position for their studio. And what's interesting is that they ask the candidate has the following certification standards of Microsoft, Sony, and Nintendo.
Hmm.
So it's seeming like they're working on some sort of project for Nintendo, and it would be most likely that they're working on the Nintendo NX because most third parties are not really supporting the Wii U,
Yeah.
and we're kind of all starting to move on to the NX now. So it's seeming that most likely Monolith Productions is, if they're making a game for Nintendo, it would be for the Nintendo NX, and it could possibly be the follow up to Middle Earth Shadow of Mordor. So we
Yeah.
might find out more about that at E3 in June.
Yeah, it makes a ton of sense. There's another rumor coming up here, but I just want to take one thing from it about the NX possibly being announced or unveiled this month. It's reasons like this with the whole concept of E3 showing off a bunch of new games for the Xbox One and PS4. Um, you would think that the NX name needs to be out there relatively soon if companies like Monolith are going to be wanting to announce, hey, our game's also coming to the NX, and show it up on the stage when they're showing off their game. And so
Hmm.
if they're just unveiling the NX at E3, it's going to be kind of tricky for them for other conferences that may be happening on Sunday or Monday for them to show off their game and not
Yeah.
say that it's coming for the NX. And so another reason I think that they'll be showing off before. But yeah, my roommate's been playing a ton of Shadow of Mordor. Looks like a really awesome game
Yeah.
and very beautiful and has lots of this cool mechanics with the Nemesis system. And so
What it kind
Hey,
of
exciting.
I
what?
got to disagree with you there a little bit. I don't think that Nintendo's going to do anything but the NX at E3 because it is such a big space for them,
Yeah.
and it's not really for us. It's not for the people who play games. E3
That's
is really
true.
more for the industry. So I would think that they would definitely put it out at E3 if they
Mm.
were going to put it out this year.
Do you think
Yeah.
though? Do you think they would go about with maybe a direct of some sorts, or maybe like a big showcase in April or May, but then use E3 as a platform to show off like maybe the actual console, similar to what PlayStation did with the PlayStation 4?
No, because if you'll remember, Nintendo really likes to do things at E3. I mean,
Yeah.
they don't really, at least in my memory, they don't do things prior to that because they don't get the exposure.
That's true. Yeah,
Yeah. It's yeah.
they've been experimenting with the different directs and stuff, but that is true that Nintendo, I mean, they definitely play like by their own rules and stuff compared to like maybe where the industry is, and if they are inclined to do E3, they'll stick with E3, but
And they
def-
do need more corporate buy-in. I mean,
yeah.
the Wii was a soft reception. Wii U was a soft reception.
Yeah.
They want to get back to their former glory, and really, I think that E3 is a good way for them to do that. Whether or not they do that is completely up to them. They
Yeah.
might do it at PAX. You never know.
Hmm.
That's true. Yeah, PAX is. Yeah, I'm also thinking like we had the confusion with the Wii U and the gamepad, and people were like, "Is this a new console? Is this?"
Yep.
And that was with the whole world looking at E3, and so they may, like you're saying, they may be kind of afraid to have that kind of soft launch or soft exposure by having it anywhere else other than E3. So I hadn't really thought of that perspective. That's interesting.
It also makes me wonder if Monolith or some of these third-party developers that are starting to maybe jump on to the NX, often when Sony has their conference or Microsoft has their conference, they announce a lot of these third-party studio games that they kind of use, like Bethesda will maybe use their game as a like use Sony's conference to announce some of their big
Hmm.
games that are coming out. And I'm wondering if since the NX is getting some more of that third party support, maybe one of those companies will choose to go with Nintendo to announce their big new third party game that's going to be on multi platforms, and they actually get one of those big announcements that they're really not known for the past few years. Really, they kind of go out and announce their Captain Toads and the
Yeah.
new Mario game that's coming out, but they never really come out with a new like Shadow of Mordor or a new Doom or something that's a big third-party game or something like what is that new game coming out, that Until Dawn and
Hmm.
those kinds of games that are really big multi-platform games, but are also in Far Cry usually used on those big Microsoft Sony conferences and never really seen on the Nintendo scale. And I think that if they did grab one of those games, that it would be big news for Nintendo and good exposure if they were able to nab something like that.
Yeah,
So that'd be
definitely.
cool to see. But yeah, we have another NX rumor, actually. Verified Reddit user Untyped Hero, who recently posted the rumor about NX having x86 architecture, has posted another thread on Reddit with even more alleged information on Nintendo's upcoming console. And the user touched on amiibo functionality, the DDR4 memory, and the rumor that the NX is capable of outputting in 4K, which we did hear a little rumor about that when we got the leaks, that the screen would be like 900p.
Yeah, the
And
portable screen.
yeah, so I'm not going to go through all of the details, but some of the most important probably were that at least one third-party Wii U game has been successfully ported to the NX. There are multiple gimmicks with the NX, and one is optional. So I thought that was
Mm.
kind of interesting. The NX is capable of outputting in 4K. Consensus is upscaling and streaming, which was kind of rumored, I guess, because people figured when people are streaming from Twitch and things like that, we might be able to go up to the 4K streaming, but it might not actually be games itself playing in
Yeah.
4K. And also that they had mentioned that friend codes are still a thing, but actually they're saying that friend code wasn't the correct term. You can only add people you know, which I thought was an interesting point because Mitomo, as we know, has kind of got an interesting friend adding system where you now add through Facebook and Twitter
Yeah.
and your Nintendo account instead of through friend codes. So I was thinking that kind of maybe makes sense and maybe add some credibility to the league because they've kind of moved to this newer way of adding friends and ditching the old friend code route. So that's that rumor, and I thought that those were probably the most interesting points of the leak. So
Yeah,
what do you
the
make of that?
Mitomo thing's interesting. Although, I mean, they could have, I mean, to view all these rumors and stuff with like an eye of kind of maybe skepticism and stuff. Like they could have just been like, oh yeah, forget friend codes because they saw maybe that Mitomo didn't use friend codes, and then they don't want to
Yeah,
they want to
yeah,
give some credibility to their leak and stuff or their rumor. But I mean, no, I mean, even if some of this stuff is confirmed or not confirmed, some of it just seems kind of like all that makes sense, for there to be the third party support and for there to be Nintendo gimmicks and stuff, but some of them being optional. I mean, I feel like you could say that about a lot of their consoles where it's like they
Well,
they
like
have
Connect was optional,
yeah,
obviously.
and so, and even the gamepad in some regards is optional for
yeah.
some games, and for other things, the Wiimote was optional, and so
Hmm.
that's always a thing with Nintendo. And so, I mean, all of these, fake or not, um, aren't really completely groundbreaking. I'm happy to hear that Amiibo are still supported because I have, I think, over 50 Amiibo on my shelf,
Yeah,
and I don't want them to go to waste, even though you could argue that they're already a waste. I don't think I mean, they look pretty. So, but no, that those are all kind of some cool things, and it's just going to be once again as we get to these upcoming months. I mean, whether we get an announcement in April or May or they wait till E3, there's going to be little trickles of information. I think coming out regardless, whether it's from Nintendo or from other people leaking information,
yeah,
and I just can't wait. I mean, I think the general consensus, if it's not already confirmed, is that we're gonna know at least by E3. Like it's not gonna E3 is not gonna come and go, and there's no NX. I
yeah.
would think is the general like, all right, we're all on the same page there, and so
Hmm.
it's cool to know that starting in June and starting in July, we're gonna be able to have Koppai podcasts where there's we know what this console is and what it looks like and what it's capable of doing for the most part. And I can't wait for the spec. As fun as the speculation is, all these rumors are starting to get a little. Oh my gosh, what is this actual thing gonna do?
I know. They just need to announce it already. It's getting
Hmm.
ridiculous now. We have our emergency declaration of announce the Nintendo NX. Nintendo needs to just do it already because it seems like 2 years now that we've been talking about this NX console and just wondering what it is. And
Yeah.
here,
2 years, that's it.
yeah,
In my day,
yeah,
we had to wait 20 years and we liked it.
I don't
yeah,
like
that's
it
true.
one bit. I guess I mean, well, some people. I mean, you have the whole Final Fantasy thing going on right now. People have waited 10 years for a game,
Yeah, that's true.
we can wait 2 years for a console, but I don't know. Yeah, it's just I think just because it's Nintendo and because of the way the Wii U was handled. Like if the Wii U would have been like what the PS4 is now, like no one's clamoring to know what the PS5 is going to be like. Like they,
Yeah.
the most part, people know what the PlayStation 5 will be, what the Xbox 2 will be. You know, I mean, it's going to be what we've known and loved, but it's going to be refined operating system and better computing graphics and stuff. Like it's just going to for the most part, we already know. Like PlayStation VR is definitely a question, and HoloLens is definitely a question, and there's excitement around all of that, and to get those on the market. But for even that, for the most part, like they're being very open about it, and you can take a guess. But Nintendo is, we have no idea what this console will be. For all we know, it could be a PlayStation with Nintendo games, or it could be a 3DS that connects to your TV, or it could be an iPhone that has the computing power of a console, or it could. I mean, or it could be a Wii U too. I mean, there's so many. It could be this, and
Uh-huh.
not only it could be those, but each one makes just as much sense as the next one, according to the rumors that we've got. So I don't know. I'm just excited to have it finally, but.
Yeah, and it's almost here too.
Mhm.